Hi, I'm Ruth Medjber and welcome to Out of the Darkroom on Adorama TV. Today I'm not going to be speaking with a photographer, but someone who's heavily involved in the photographic arts world here in the UK. Behind me you'll see the photographer's gallery, and inside we're going to be chatting to Clare Grafik, who's the head of the exhibitions team.
Adorama TV presents Out of the Darkroom with Ruth Medjber.
Hi Clare, thanks so much for inviting us here into the Photographer's Gallery in London. I love this space. I'm always here every time I'm in London, and I like to pop in. And maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about what it is you do, what is your role, and kind of what it involves.
Yeah, sure. So my official title is Head of Exhibitions.
Okay.
And essentially this means that I support and oversee a very, very capable group of curators and assistant curators to run the exhibitions programme here.
When you say you oversee curators, what is it that a curator does in a gallery?
Well, a curator is many different things, and different curators will have very different sorts of daily lives.
Okay.
So a freelance curator may have a very different life to an institutional curator. So somebody who works at the Photographer's Gallery spends lots of their time really, in a sense, administrating exhibitions, making sure everything is booked in, runs smoothly, but also is the main port of call for the artists who work with us.
Ah, okay. So it's more like the preparation to getting a show ready rather than the day-to-day maintaining a show. It's building it up, it's setting it, it's putting it in place. And so your role then is looking after all them and making sure they all work together as a team, I suppose. How do you come to select what goes on here?
We really look at a 12 to 18 month overview of our exhibition programme, and our commitment to photography is perhaps unusually not just to solo exhibitions of living artists. It's to photography in all its forms.
Wow,
so we may look at a 12 to 18 month slot and say, okay, within this time we know that we want a group show, a thematic show looking at something pertinent, you know, something that feels quite current now.
So would you pick a theme then in that regard? Like,
it may be, we work in very different ways for different shows. So we may curate something internally, or we may work with external curators. So someone may come to us and say, I've had this idea for a show, it's something I've done research on, you know,
and it's quite, you know,
we can start a conversation.
Ah, okay.
So it may be that we actually collaborate not just with artists externally, but also with curators, and other institutions as well. You
must get a lot of applicants looking to put a show on here. How do you then find the photographers, or do you already know in your mind like who's out there?
No, not necessarily. I mean, we generally try and keep an eye on who's showing in other galleries. Who's producing very interesting work. Obviously artist websites now mean that you can have access to anyone's work.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for them to have an exhibition somewhere else. I mean, as an institution, we on the one hand we have very strong institutional relationships on an international basis. So you may look at what other institutions in other countries are also working on at the moment.
Yeah.
And in terms of that, it's very important, certainly in these particular times, to share resources with people. So it may be that you work with another institution on an exhibition, and so you're bringing in their expertise as well as your own to perhaps put together a thematic show.
I suppose, I mean, I'm looking at it from the point of view of maybe an amateur photographer or someone who's built up, you know, a project and wants to showcase it to the best people. You guys do portfolio review days, don't you?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what that entails?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the idea of portfolio review days is really to just try and somehow give a structure to photographers to come to the gallery and to have their work looked at. And also for us who, you know, we can't spend every day looking at people's work.
Yeah.
It also is a very important time where we get to see people's work as well.
Yeah.
So generally what we try and do is see as many people as we can in one day, but our education team put together a sort of panel of a number of experts. So they may be internal curators, but also external curators, writers, people working in the industry
Yeah.
who may come in as well to do this, and people can generally book with someone
Like
a
specific
slot.
to them. Oh wow.
A certain slot, or they may be allocated someone
Yeah.
who we feel is appropriate for their practice.
That's fantastic. So it's almost tailored then exactly to
We
what
try
you know
to.
you'll get the best
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah.
So if I'm coming along for your portfolio review day and I've been given, you know, that the person that I'm going to, what should I bring and what should I present on the day?
So what I suppose I want to see when I see someone's portfolio is, you know, I need to get a good sense of their work quite quickly.
Yeah.
And that is not necessarily seeing absolutely loads of work. It's
Okay.
actually seeing perhaps 2 or 3
Strongest
well-edited projects
Okay.
that will give me a clear idea of, you know, where someone's interests lie,
Yeah.
but also, in a sense, more importantly, where they're going. So
Right.
I'm not... If I was a publisher, I may be looking for something that's quite a coherent project
Yeah.
already. As a curator in a public gallery, I'm not necessarily looking for that, because
Okay.
the point is not necessarily to give someone a show at a folio review.
No, I
it's
wouldn't
for them
imagine,
to
yeah.
have some useful advice about where to go, you know, where to take their
Yeah,
work,
that
and to
kind
get
of thing.
advice. I mean, because often people come in and they say, look, I've been working on this project for 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm stuck. I've got to this point,
okay.
and I don't know whether to take it in this direction or this direction. Because there's many different ways a project can go, and
Yeah.
actually sometimes better than your own head, you know, you
Yeah,
can sort of
you-
get some
a
external...
little bit of outside help to kind of guide
Yeah.
you through. That's fantastic.
And it may be I say something that they totally disagree with, but at least it gives them something
At least
to...
it's an opinion, you know what I mean? They need to
bounce
do
off.
this, absolutely.
Yeah.
You did the MA in photography in Goldsmiths, which was probably one of the most prestigious London colleges. I mean, when you leave that course, you can get a little bit lost, and especially because you don't have that guidance anymore. So these portfolio days sound absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, they are important. I mean, we also do the graduate show every year, which is called Fresh Face, Wild Eyed, and that was specifically set up for people that had already graduated. And in that kind of cold moment where they leave college, they don't have access to teachers,
No,
technology.
it's scary, yeah.
It's very intimidating, and it takes a lot of sort of guts to keep going. And I think
Yeah.
we felt it was the right moment then to give people a chance to apply to show work here.
Yeah. Do you find that most people are formally trained in photography?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I think it totally depends how you work as an artist.
Okay.
And I got to the end of my MA and thought, I do not have what it takes to be an artist. I'm not interested enough in my own ideas. I don't want to spend all my time on my own working. I need to
it can be quite a solitary life.
it can be quite solitary, and I'm not driven enough to make my own work, and that's what I realised. It was very useful for me because I realised actually I wanted to work with people who did feel like that. But a lot of people that are artists, you know, I think they find being in higher education can be very useful because they have colleagues, they can, you know, peers that they can bounce ideas off. They can push their practice in a way that maybe they wouldn't if they weren't in that structure. But there are plenty of very, very successful artists who are self-taught or... Yeah, so I wouldn't... it's not a carte blanche.
Claire, thank you so much for chatting to me today. It was absolutely lovely, and yeah, really loved the gallery. So maybe we've inspired some people to come and visit you here just off Oxford Street as well.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Cheers. Thanks for joining me today. Tune in again where I'm going to be speaking to some more great photographers and industry professionals. Check out the Adorama Learning Centre where you'll find some great tips and tricks for your own photography, and also don't forget to subscribe to Adorama TV. See you soon.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy to use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use adoramapix.com.